All right, let's go ahead and get started. First things first, could I get a designated note taker for today?
Sure, I'm happy to do it.
I appreciate that, Michael. And then new faces. Yeah. Do you want to just introduce yourself and your, I guess, relation to Buildpacks?
My name is Jonathan Harper. I'm a principal solutions engineer at Contrast Security. I recently had a customer who reached out to us about build packs. They're building their entire new platform as a service internal offering using build packs and
Hmm.
reached out to us about it. And so in response, I've started working on building out a build pack that integrates our agent-based technology. It's very similar to APM tools
Yeah.
in operation, but for security. Um, I've started at least on the Java path for our Java agent technology of creating a build pack for that, and just wanted to kind of get involved here in the community, understand what's going on and how I should, best get that build pack integrated into the ecosystem.
Sounds great. Um, I mean, we'll be more than happy to talk to you about that. We have a couple other I'm sure that you've looked at some other sort of APM adjacent things, sort of like Datadog,
Open
SNCC,
telemetry,
yeah,
yeah.
OpenTelemetry, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at your repositories for all your other APM tools, and I'm building as using those as a reference. It's up. I have it up and working, but it's in my own personal repository. And just wondering how I should. I saw that all your other build packs are under like the Paketo build packs repository.
Hmm.
Wondering how I best get it integrated into your kind of official build packs repository.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. We can definitely talk about that in the back half, sort of in the open mic discussion questions area.
Okay.
what was the
Thanks.
company name again, just for the minutes?
Contrast security.
Contrast, the Contrast.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we can jump into doing some outstanding RFC updates. I'm going to be skipping over the two that are in draft. And let's go ahead and start with RFC to unify log output. I still haven't seen any movement on this. Um, I should reach out to was this Rolf and see if there's anything else. I think that uh, Michael, there may be some sort of I guess what it looks like they want some sort of action on the node maintainer side. So if you want to weigh in on this at all, that might be something good to look at.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and I was gonna add, like, Rolf has asked us about it, and like I think there's no fundamental objection to like moving from one tool to the other, but like we'd have to see what that looks like. And so
Mhm.
I think it comes down to like anything, like how much work, how much disruption is it going to cause? But like, from the node maintainers, nobody was saying like, no, no, we have to stick with one versus the other. But I think the real thing is like, well, how much is going to work is that going to take? Who's going to do the work? And like, can you do it in a way that isn't disruptive, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that so I guess I need to so I guess in some way we need to reach out to Rolf and say like because I don't know what the next step would be because someone would have to take the initiative to start doing this work and I don't know.
Exactly. I guess the key question is he volunteering to do that, like maybe by starting with one of the build packs and, submitting a PR that shows what it looks like. And then from that one, you can say, like, yeah, okay, it doesn't really, like, it's a behind the scenes thing, doesn't bother, nobody's even gonna notice other than getting better log input, gonna be easy, or like, well, that breaks every single test. People may notice that. But I think that would be the first step, is like a PR which would do it for one of those build packs, and we could see what it looks like.
I think that's fair. I don't I guess maybe replying to this and be like, who is the stakeholder for this work? It's
Right.
probably what I should do after this meeting.
I mean, I think it's like everybody will agree having the output log output better.
I,
Good. It's
I
just like you said, who's gonna like actually take the leadership is more the
yeah, it's sort of the idea of like I think that there's a lot of agreement that we should be aligned. Being aligned is hard to do and will take lots of work, so we need to investigate the best way of doing that. So
yeah.
yeah, I think that I will I'll put something here at the this meeting. Like so who's the expected stakeholder to take on this first like basically just proof of concept. How hard is this?
Right.
All right. And then there is a new RFC from 15 minutes ago. So I have not had a chance to read this.
Yeah, I
But
created it like 15 minutes. I created it as the run up to the meeting. Basically, it's just proposing that we promote the UBI Node.js extension.
mhm.
You know, it's been there and building and releasing for the last year. The extension mechanism is no longer experimental, so we're not depending on an experimental feature. Um, and like so the proposal, the RFC is just basically like let's move it from Paketo community over to Paketo build packs.
Yeah, for sure.
And I point to the original RFC that, said I think is where we agreed we should add UBI support to the Paketo stack. And so yeah, it's the alternative is just to let it bake some longer, but I think looking at it, that one seems ready. There's no major issues. We haven't had to make any major changes to it for quite a while. So it just
Yeah,
that one seems
I think that we should take a look at this, and frankly, it's going to be up to probably mostly Node.js. So you and
cost us.
yeah, Costas, thank you. Sorry, the name
Yeah.
escaped me.
Yep.
Okay, I'll take a look at this.
Yep.
I think
Okay.
honestly, the only thing that I'll go through here is just do like a quick spell check read and then move on.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. In that case, then, I don't have any more. I don't have any comments on. It doesn't appear to be any updates on either one of these drafts, so I think I'll just leave them for this week. Um, and we can move on to the next part of the meeting, which will be C&B updates and questions. Don't believe that I have anything for that. And I don't have any project specific updates at the current moment as well. So with that, we can absolutely get into Jonathan, your particular ask.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so uh, like I was saying, we have agent-based technology. We have a variety of different languages for that. We have Java, .NET, Node, Python, Golang, all of those different common web application and API languages. And we want to be able to deploy our agent via the build packs. So that's where we've kind of created that, starting with Java, and I plan to extend it to the other languages as well. But I think the customer need is mainly in the Java ecosystem, so that's why we're starting with that. But yeah, I've created that. Right now it's in my own personal repository. Um, but I think, does it make sense to put that over into the Paketo build packs repository? Like how does that process work with you guys?
So I think that like first of all, we would want to like first of all we would want to see like either that customer come forward asking for that as a feature, which I don't know if that would happen, or some larger I don't want to say demand, but like definitely like like the something that would be more reinforcing around like there being a demand or want for the contrast agent. And that really, that bar to clear is, you know, not incredibly high. Um, I think as well, what we would need to do is have someone who's willing to support it as well. Um, and that's where I think that you're going to have to just sort of work out with like someone who is already part of the Paketo organization in terms of like especially like what team would be willing to take on maintaining and updating that going forward, right? So there's sort of two tiers that you can be for Paketo. We have like the full Paketo build packs project, and then we have a Paketo community project. Um, Paketo community is sort of these are things that are interesting, and we think that users would like to use, but we haven't proved out that they are stable, functional, supportable, that sort of thing. Um, and so the bar to get into something like Paketo community is much lower than it would be to get into Paketo proper. Um,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And is that like a different place where you host those
yeah,
build packs, or do we host those on our side and then we just have like a link to them within the community side?
well, we have a here, I'll post it in the chat here. We have a separate GitHub org that's Paketo
Uh,
community um, that holds um, a couple of things that uh, just we haven't decided want or like need full support or in some cases things that had support or like we wanted to test out the support and then actually moved them into the sort of I don't want to say full org but the build packs org. So think like a good example of something like that would be like our static file build pack was originally in this organization and then we moved it over. But currently, like our whole Rust build pack is in the Paketo community org. Some of our newer stack projects are in there as well. Um, some utility build packs also live there as well. So um, it would be I think it'd be easier for you to make a case to get in to here and find, like find your footing in terms of how to actually support and maintain the project. And
mhm.
then when you can sort of prove out that it's like the upgrades happen, there's an easy release cycle, that sort of thing, then we could talk about moving into the larger project.
Okay, got it. So start out in the community, and then once we kind of figure out all the details around support, and how are your like how are the APM vendors that you're interacting with dealing with this like Datadog or New Relic, Dynatrace? Are they like are
Yeah,
they
so we
supporting
usually
it on their side? Oh, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
so we usually don't. Hello, I'm Anthony. I'm more related with Java build packs, and we actually maintain a lot of APM build packs. So I'd like also to give you my point of view of on what you're doing. So first of all, that's a great idea. That's pretty cool to have contrast. And then second of all, to be honest, we what we do with APM vendors usually is that we set up automation to go and grab their agent,
Mhm.
and then we have automation that's going to update the version of the agents regularly, so that when we release a new version of a build pack, then we usually have the latest. So but it is kind of how it works. You can look at how we're doing, but basically, if you just honestly, if you start um, contributing something, I don't know if Forrest, you told Jonathan, but basically, you could start with Paketo community organization, because this one is definitely so yeah, it's another GitHub org, and this one is less official. So if I were you, I would move yeah, you would start moving your personal stuff directly to Paketo community, and then you could start asking us questions about automation or CI in general, because honestly, that's kind of uh, you know the most, I mean, the most difficult thing to set up when you're new to the community. So
Would there need to be an RFC, like as a starting point, an RFC somewhere that says like add the contrast build pack and like the kind of like
yeah,
the BI ones, the proposal was like, hey, yeah, they'll start a Paketo community. Here
sure,
are the
sure,
names.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
but to go to community, to Paketo community, I mean, you don't really need that. It's when you want to graduate to Paketo buildbacks. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Well, I think that in the past we have also done I think some RFCs for like opening things up, starting things in Paketo community. I would be more than willing to hunt one of those down to for you, Jonathan, so that you can see sort of like the format of that. But it would basically be sort of like the uh the the intention, and then the motivation, and then sort of the functionality, um and where you want it to go, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I will see if I can hunt down one of those sort of like introducing a new build pack RFCs for you, but it should be relatively straightforward, as you know, with the stakeholder is you, who works for Contrast Security, who's trying to put together the Contrast Security agent for an interested client. So we have, a user, a stakeholder, and that sort of thing. Talk about sort of like how this should function. Like we go and we grab the agent from here, and then we do some, amount of wiring up. I don't know the best way of saying that, but like like you run whatever configuration, that's the word I'm looking for, you need. And then if you wanted to as well talk about how you would want to expand that, because obviously you mentioned like, oh, we have a .NET agent, we have I'm sure you have like a Node agent or something like that. So talk about, potentially expanding that, and then, we can once yeah, like Anthony said, once we sort of get the automation rolling the way that we need to get it rolling for that, then you could talk about moving that. I think the other thing as well, and Anthony, I think, is a good person to talk to about this, is the team that would own it. So I believe that there's Anthony, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's an APM team, uh, and so reaching out to them and saying like, hey, I'm working on this. Would this be something that you're willing to, I guess, at least like sponsor in some ways, like shepherd through? That would be important as well, knowing who's going to actually take care of the build pack from a maintainer standpoint. Obviously, as like the person who's driving this out, I think there's a good case for you to also be a maintainer and contributor on that.
Yeah.
But I think that you would want to talk to an official team on that as well.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
something.
Oh, sorry.
There's a team named App Monitoring in Buildpacks. So I guess this is what you are referring to.
And I assume, Jonathan, that like it doesn't have to be in the official repos for your customer. I'm pretty sure you could like use some command lines to add in extra build packs.
Yeah, and maybe that's where we start. I have a meeting scheduled with this customer to discuss how we want to kind of integrate this. I thought it would be useful for this customer to have it in the official build packs, as well as anybody else who's using the build packs to leverage it as well outside of that customer. So that's kind of why I was looking to get it in here, because I mean, this seems like a fairly popular project, and seems like a good place for us to have an integration.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that's not the case, just that like, because it might take a little time, with the RFC, get stuff going. You can experiment in parallel, right? Was kind of more what I was getting at, just to make sure you didn't feel like you were totally stuck.
That makes sense. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's, so I can just host it in my own repository, and then build that, deploy out that within the customer's environment, and then they can just use it directly.
Yeah, I think in the simplest case, which we've used for some of the testing, is like there's usually a build pack list builder, I think it is, and then you can use that, and then you can specify the build packs on the command line that you want to use. So you could actually say like, okay, I want to use the Java build pack, I want to add in my APM build pack. And you'd probably look at like there's a Java, at least for the Node case, there's like a Node meta build pack, and it's got like 10 different things in it. So you could look at which one of those you want to pull into your command line list. But like that's something that you can do, and then you can, basically do a build, agree, you likely want it to be integrated in with everything else, but that's something you can do without having to wait for all the pieces to be in place.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. You just have to specify the entire build pack list if you do that, right? Of all of the.
Yeah, I don't like there might be like for the Node one, you would specify them. I think you could specify the Node meta build pack and your extra one. Although I'm not 100% sure about that. I think you might need to pull things together.
It would
like
order dependent, for sure, right? Like because of the I, this get in the weeds really fast because of the provides require contract that you get from the build plans. The something earlier in the stack has to provide something that you require. If that makes any sense. So
Yep.
uh you would yeah, you could do something like I think that the life cycle will let you or maybe not even life cycle but like pack will let you specify a meta build pack, right? So like Node.js, not the underlying build packs, and then an additional build pack at the end, and then we'll add that to the build order of whatever plan wins out of the meta build pack.
Okay.
I,
I might need a second to get my head around all that, but
So yeah, like inside the Node.js build pack, there's like a branch for using an npm install. There's a branch for using a yarn install, and there's a
yep.
branch for just having Node. Um, one of those sub build plans will win based on the provide require, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that the life cycle should then multiply that with the additional build pack on top of that, and it should be added to the rest of the build order, if that makes sense, assuming that its conditions are met.
Yeah, so like in that case, like our node agent would require it would require node it would require either npm or yarn to be in place. So it would be down either one of those branches, right? That we would go after yarn or npm.
Yeah. And so that at the end of that, I think you should be fine with basically saying I can't guarantee that you're saying Node.js and then your contrast security build pack. I think that that
Yeah,
should be fine.
that's the part I'm not sure about either. But like in the worst case, you could pick the one like, hey, I'm doing it with npm, pick all the list of build packs, and then add yours in the list that you provided. Like that'd be the worst case, and I'm hopeful like Forrest that it would like pack would let you add in another one at the end, and it might work.
Yeah, my understanding is that's how that works.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'll give it a try. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, other than that, yeah, I would just say reaching out to some members on this app monitoring maintainer list and just talking about what you're doing. I think Anthony, you are a member of the on the app monitoring maintainers list, and
Yes,
it
yeah,
does
yeah.
appear that that's the case. So you could reach out to Anthony, it sounds like, and talk about
Sure.
what needs to get done.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, and I was kind of expecting that this would be something where we would have a member of our team contributing this, not just like handing it over to you guys and
Yeah,
uh
there's more there's certainly precedent for that. I think that there's some like IBM tools like Liberty for Java do something similar. Is that correct, Anthony?
Yeah, we have we definitely have 5 or 6 open source build packs that are related to APM. And it sounds like contra security. I mean, you said that you took I mean, that you're basically an agent for security. So I guess, well, at the end of the day, it's just a Java agent, right? That needs to be passed on to the command line when you start up your Java process. No?
yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, it uses the
All right.
Java agent argument just like all of the APM tools do.
Yeah.
It's just
Mhm.
very specific. It's a security monitoring tool instead of APM.
Yeah, and just for my curiosity, do your customers need to install something else between the Java agent and I guess Contra Security SaaS? Do they need to install something else to make the relay or whatever?
No, we connect out directly from the agent to a SaaS-based platform to send like vulnerability and attack findings. But that's the only like dependency like connection wise.
Yeah. And also another question for you. Do you require a full configuration file or just a couple of environment variables to set up your agent?
Yeah, it's just environment variables. So I was configuring those via bindings where you have those like the API credentials set up in via a binding, and then when you bind that to the container when it runs, then it pulls in the configuration values that we need. We can optionally set other configuration values, but those can be set via environment variables or via a config file, which is a YAML formatted config file.
Okay. But all right, so still you've chosen the option to provide a binding type as well as binding files for each environment variables, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
Is
okay. Well,
that the way you'd recommend doing that?
yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest. You kind of chose the, I'm not gonna say the hard, well, yeah, it's the hardest path. The easiest path is just to say, these are the environment variables that I support. And then your build pack, it would basically translate. Maybe, there would be BP underscore something environment variables that you would translate into. I mean, for example, if there would be BP underscore contrast, you would translate them to contrast environment variables and be done. But yeah, since you have credentials, maybe you want to go with the files that would be eventually mounted into a secret if you run on Kubernetes. So, I mean, that's fine either way. I guess that if you make it work with the bindings, then, I mean, you did the hardest work already, so.
So I mean, both are set up. So the bindings for API credentials for the connection, and then you can also pass in environment variables as well for regular configuration that's not secrets related. So you
Okay.
can specify any of the contrast like options via like just give the name and then that translates it into the environment variable inside the container. So I think implementing both of those options.
Wow, okay, well, great. That sounds perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. So I guess like I'll keep in. How's it best? How's it best to keep in contact with you, Anthony?
Slack. You
Slack?
go to Slack and you go to the Paketo Slack. Paketo
Okay.
Slack, and there is a Java channel. You go there. I'm not the only one being there. We are at least, well, I don't know. We are a handful, basically. And we'll pay attention to your messages if you post to a Java channel, that's for sure.
Okay,
If it's
great.
not me, it's gonna be someone else.
Great, thank you. So I'll join the Slack channel thing because I'm not a part of that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Thanks, guys. This has been very helpful.
Here, let me go ahead and I can send you an invite link to the Slack as well. That will make your life easier.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty. Is there any other business that we would like to get to? If not, thank you all so much.
Cool.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right.